You've probably seen hundreds of sci-fi movies that have tried to make futuristic scenes with digital buttons and knobs, slick surfaces, and a lot of whites and blue lights. Although they make you wonder about the future and push the boundaries of science fiction out further, that's not entirely the case for Denis Villeneuve's version of Dune. Patrice Vermette, Dune's production designer, was faced with the task of designing 10,000 years in the future for this movie. But instead of looking through the stack of state-of-the-art technology, he looked back at various architectural styles, from Egyptian and Aztec pyramids to World War II bunkers to get inspired. Well, I don't have to say how successful he was designing the sets of Dune 2021, considering how massive of a hit it was as soon as it was premiered. So without any more stalling, let's take a look at interior designs of this movie. We can categorize each space by the planet they're on. We'll have 3 different architectural styles based on the location. Spaces on Caladan, on Geidi Prime, and on Arrakis. The imagery we see in the interior scenes on Caladan are displayed in a way that shows a pleasant human climate is going on that planet. And also it's a nod to the Atreides house being warm and noble. Almost all interiors have an octagonal structure, and the attention to the details in fixtures and decoration is quite remarkable. Material palette includes stone walls for the structure of the building, naturally for its long-lasting feature, latticed windows as a royal feature to the space, to keep the feeling of the space warm, wooden floors and ceilings, Persian rugs, once again as a royal feature, inlaid wooden furniture, wooden reliefs on the walls, and so on. Placement of these materials next to each other creates an imposing and royal feeling, and in the same time induces a warm and a relaxed atmosphere. An interesting thing is that in all the spaces that we see in this movie, only the buildings on Caladan have windows. Another detail is the lattice work of those windows seem to be repeated in the partition details. Furniture sets in interior scenes on Caladan follows a single design concept. Heavy wooden furniture with sloping bases and symmetrical inlays. You can see how balanced they were designed. Okay, moving on. Unlike the warm and royal spaces of Caladan, Geidi Prime shows a cold and a brutal atmosphere. But of course, they preserved the elements of grandeur for these spaces too, because nonetheless, the House Harkonnen is a powerful player in this universe. But you can look at these scenes and come to the conclusion that these are some ruthless and dry people living here. A dark foyer with its narrow entrance, tall metal columns, bare concrete floor, low power light coming from above gives the space an unpleasant feeling. In the main ceremonial room, except for the throne and 2 chairs on either side, you can't see any furniture in these scenes. The black reflective color of the throne increases the feeling of coldness even more. We only see 2 interior spaces from the scenes on this planet. One is the Baron's bath and the other is the foyer, and they both look dark and cold. Scenes of Arrakis covers most of the movie's time, so we see a lot of interiors here. But rather than resembling living spaces, they resemble bunkers built to protect against extreme weather and external threats. The main material used in these spaces is concrete, which, for the sake of the story, we can say it's likely to be a composite of the desert sand. Although walls and ceilings are formally expected to be built uniformly in such spaces because they look more futuristic, that's not the case here. Frame tilings are completely visible on these walls, and that shows how they built this building layer by layer, floor by floor, similar to the pyramids. You can see a lot of details in textures of those surfaces. In terms of material and color, they wanted to keep the integrity of the spaces intact, but at the same time, they meant for these sharp edges and volumes to be visible. The material used in these spaces are not very diverse. The furniture displayed here are integrated with the surrounding area, and even in some cases, furnitures are mounted directly in the walls. However, due to the residence of the Atreides family, some native decoration pieces of Caladan can be seen here. Between the sharp angles and interlocking volumes, interesting bronze reliefs can be seen on the wall, including the two we see in the royal bedrooms. To separate the use of each area, they've placed consoles and cubes of concrete everywhere in the room, on the walls, floors, and ceilings. They tried to show it as minimal and as functional as they can. Let's talk about lights. In buildings on Caladan, natural light enters the space either directly through the windows or through the skylights. And to emit light at nights and on dark areas, there are a sort of suspended lamps that illuminates a small amount of the surrounding area. We see a couple of versions of these lights, but they're shown in a way that their presence is almost not felt during the movie. In buildings on Geidi Prime, we can't see any openings letting some natural lights in. Of course, the reason of this could be that all the scenes we see on Geidi Prime are taking place during the night. But not in the Baron's bath scene and nor in the scene with the throne, no trace of natural light can be seen in the space, and the source of the ambient light we see are not visible. In buildings on Arrakis, light illuminates the space through overlapping openings indirectly. The sun intensity is powerful enough to light the interiors like this. The artificial lights we see are the same one we saw on Caladan. They must have brought them from their home planet. Alright, that's it. In a 3-part series, we analyzed Dune's architecture and vehicle design. We're looking forward to the premiere of the second part of this movie. As soon as it's out, we'll talk about the new designs. Make sure to subscribe for our new content. Until then, this was the Architecture of Dune Part 2. My name is Abba, and thank you for watching.